I will now call to order the City County Council meeting for Monday, September 25th, 2017. We'll begin our meeting with a prayer and pledge of allegiance led by Councilor Holliday.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. If you'd all bow your heads, please. Lord, we come to you tonight to conduct and serve you. We ask that you forgive us of our trespasses, have your guiding hand on us and all that we do to enact your will, provide your safety and secure hand on all that serve you, serve this city, state, and nation. Through Jesus we pray and say thank you. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If all councilors would select the green button to indicate your attendance. There are 24 members present. Councilor Jackson did ask to be excused. The next item on our agenda is introduction of guests and visitors. Introduction of guests and visitors. We'll move to the official communications. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, you are hereby notified that regular meetings of the City County Council and Police, Fire, and Solid Waste Collection Special Service District Councils will be held in the City County Building in the Council Chambers on Monday, September 25th at 7 p.m. The purposes of such meetings being to conduct any and all business that may properly come before regular meetings of the councils. Respectfully, Maggie A. Lewis, President, City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the laws of the state of Indiana, I caused to be published in the Court and Commercial Record and in the Indianapolis Star on Wednesday, September 13, 2017, a copy of a notice of public hearing on proposal number 260, 2017. Said hearing to be held on Monday, September 25th at 7 p.m. in the Public Assembly Room of the City County Building. Respectfully, Natrina DeBow, Clerk of the City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I have approved with my signature and delivered this day to the Clerk of the City County Council, Natrina DeBow, the following ordinances. Fiscal Ordinance numbers 24 and 25, and General Ordinance numbers 48 through 51. Joseph H. Hogsett, Mayor. Madam President, this concludes the official communications.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have consent? Consent. The next item on our agenda is approval of the journals for September 11, 2017. Do I have consent? We'll now proceed to presentations of petitions, memorials, special resolutions, and council resolutions. Proposal number 115, refer to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. For Proposal 115, 2017, appoints Devonna Harris Askew to the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department Merit Board. At this time, Madam President, I move to strike this proposal from the agenda.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded to strike proposal number 115. All those in favor? Councilor McQuillan.
Thank you, Madam President. If I could just ask Council to explain exactly for all of us, especially for our newer members, what a strike means in this case.
Councilor McQuillan, we know what strike means. We've done it plenty of times.
If you could actually explain, that'd be fine too, or Council's fine.
We're going to not take a vote on proposal number 115. Other comments from councilors? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 220, refer to Municipal Corporation Committee. Chairman Gray.
We heard proposal 220 in the Municipal Corporation. It was to appoint Mr. Thomas Popachek to the Speedway Library Board. Councilor Feaster visited our meeting and spoke very highly of Mr. Popachek. And Mr. Popachek said this was a reappointment for him. He had served on the library for a long time. His family had a close tie with the library. He enjoyed it, and he looked forward to doing it again. and the committee passed it, sent it to the council with the 8-0 vote as it do pass. Thank you.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our votes. The proposal carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is introductions of proposals. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 266, introduced by Councilor Lewis, referred to the Administration and Finance Committee, authorizes the city to advance refund pilot revenue bonds which were previously issued to finance the construction, renovation, rehabilitation, and installation of certain improvements to the public ways, including roads, streets, alleys, trails, sidewalks, and other public facilities in an amount not to exceed $180 million, along with associated transaction costs and a reserve fund surety if necessary. Proposal number 267, introduced by Councilor Mascari, referred to the Metropolitan Economic Development Committee, approves a resolution of economic development plan establishing the Jackson Fountain Square Economic Development Area and designating such as an economic development allocation area. Proposal number 268, introduced by Councilor Mowry, approves a request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interest for construction of a public works project. Proposal number 269 through 272, all referred to the Public Works Committee. Proposal number 269, introduced by Councilor Osley, authorizes intersection controls on Talbot Street at 17th and 21st Streets in District 11. Proposal number 270, introduced by Councilor Cordy, authorizes a speed limit reduction in the Mayfair Village subdivision in District 18. Proposal number 271, introduced by Councilor Evans, authorizes intersection controls at Morris Street and Vandalia Avenue in District 22. Proposal number 272, introduced by Councilors Oliver and Osley, authorizes alteration of parking restrictions along 30th Street from Meridian Street to Central Avenue in Districts 9 and 11. Madam President, this concludes the introduction of proposals.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is special orders priority business. Proposals number 273 through 275 are all rezoning proposals certified for approval by the Metropolitan Development Commission on September 15, 2017. If no councilors wishes to call down any of those proposals for reconsideration, they will pass into law. Does anyone wish to call down any of those proposals? Councilor Simpson?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This is passed by Metropolitan Development
Commission.
Commission. I know I don't sit on that committee. Can somebody explain to me exactly what this ordinance is saying? Tax levy, I see tax levy and all that stuff. Can someone explain to me short version of what this is all about?
I don't think that we're at, are you looking under special orders priority business?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, okay.
Wait a minute. Oh, I'm looking at the special order, public
I'm not there
hearing.
yet, sir.
Is that where we at?
No,
Okay,
special
I'm
orders
sorry.
priority
Okay,
business.
all right, thank
you. So does anyone wish to call down any of the zoning proposals for reconsideration? Seeing none, they will pass into law. We'll now proceed to special orders public hearing. I'm going to turn it over to the clerk to walk us through the proposals before we take public comments. Madam Clerk.
Madam President, the following budget ordinances are before the council for public testimony. Proposal number 222 approves the tax levy and rate for the Police Special Service District for 2018. Proposal number 223 approves the tax levy and rate for the Fire Special Service District for 2018. Proposal number 224 approves the tax levy and rate for the Solid Waste Collection Special Service District for 2018. Proposal number 225 adopts the annual budget for the City of Indianapolis and Marion County for 2018. Proposal number 246 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies of the Indianapolis Airport Authority and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporation for 2018. Proposal number 247 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies of the Capital Improvement Board of Managers and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporation for 2018. Proposal number 248 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies of the Health and Hospital Corporation and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporation for 2018. Proposal number 249 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies of the Indianapolis-Marion County Public Library and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporation for 2018. Proposal number 250 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies of the Indianapolis Public Transportation Corporation, Indigo, and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporation for 2018. Madam President, this concludes the list of budget ordinances.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there comments from councilors? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to, no, Councilor Simpson? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is the controller here? Or somebody from the controller office here? Really?
Maybe
Yes,
our
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I
control-
just want
Okay.
to, CFO Brown, can you explain for the listening audience and all those, about this whole process right here?
Madam President?
Mr. Brown?
Yep, thank you. So, state statute requires that the council hold one public meeting for the public to come and express any concerns and even ask questions about the budgets that the council is being asked to approve in administration. And they are separated this way because we have several taxing districts that levy property taxes. So we have to separate the ordinance per each taxing district. Even though you get one omnibus budget with all the appropriations, if you notice, we do have several other proposals that are just for the tax rate and the levy approval only. So that's why you see the number of proposals in front of you tonight. In addition, we're also going to hear, or the public can make comment on the municipal corporation's budgets as well.
Additional comments from councilors? Madam Clerk, do you have a list?
There is
Okay.
Susan Duffy.
Yes. This is actually about the traffic stuff from college, so I don't think I signed up for the right thing. I'm sorry. I know.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to?
I'm sorry.
Okay, but that's not where we're at now, though.
No. It's in the Indigo.
Okay. So, okay. Madam Clerk, who was the person? What's her name?
Susan Duffy.
Okay. They said, ma'am, you can actually speak to it because it's part of the Indigo budget, maybe.
I was talking about the proposed traffic controls and lane dedications.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's not today, right?
No. Okay. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to the budget? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the budget? Are there additional comments from councilors? Okay. We'll proceed to special orders. Still on special orders, proposal number 260, refer to Rules and Public Safety Committee. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 260, 2017, proposes an ordinance of the Marion County Local Income Tax Council to modify the allocation of the previously imposed expenditure rate and to cast the vote of the City County Council on such ordinance. Mr. Biesecker stated that this proposal is a formality requested by the Office of Finance and Management. New local income tax legislation set up three categories: property tax relief rate, special purpose rate, and expenditure rate. Stated that when the transit tax was adopted, increasing the expenditure rate from 1.7193% to 1.9693%. And the Department of Local Government Finance and the statute required that when that expenditure rate changed, there has to be an ordinance to reflect the new percentage. Said this is a technical formality that does not change anything in terms of the tax rate or revenues. Councilor McQuillan moved, seconded by Councilor Coates, to send proposal number 260, 2017 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. The motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 260? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. And this was for Rules and Public Policy Committee. I made up another committee a second ago. The proposal carries 24-0 There is no business under special order unfinished business. We'll proceed to special orders final adoption. Proposal number 215, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 215, 2017, approves a statement of benefits for Buckeye Corrugated Incorporated, Crowell Division, as an applicant for tax abatement for property located in an economic revitalization area. Ryan Hunt, DMD project manager, stated this proposal is related to an expansion of local business. Buckeye Corrugated stated this comes from before the council because it is within the airport taxing increment financing district, and by statute the council must approve. Councilor Evans moved, seconded by Councilor Kreider, to send proposal 215 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and the motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Clay.
Madam President, with respect to the tax abatement due, is the committee chair or someone prepared to give some detail? I didn't hear it captured in the minutes with respect to the length of the abatement.
Thank you so much. Madam President, if I could, I would ask our council, because I do believe we've got a modification of the document on Crowell, as we discussed earlier on today.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Yes, I was not at the committee meeting, but we did receive from DMD today a revised memorandum of agreement that reflected the discussion at the committee that certain jobs that were originally slated to be at, I believe, $11 an hour, the company had agreed to move them up to $12 an hour, which changed the overall average wage rate for the jobs to be created. So we did receive a new memorandum or a revised memorandum of agreement from DMD earlier today.
If I may pick up a revised digest, because my digest has expired. I needed the revised document. Do you have that with you?
Is there something specific that?
Well, I just wanted to answer
Okay.
my fellow councilor's question.
Councilor Clegg's question, okay. Is the director here, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Hunt, would you come forward?
Please.
Thank you, Chairman Osili. If I may, I believe the question was how long is the abatement?
Correct.
Is a 5-year personal property tax abatement.
Okay.
And do you mind stating your name and title,
Sorry,
please?
Ryan Hunt, Program Manager with DMD Incentives.
Councilor Clay, then Councilor Gray.
Madam President, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So could we project, and I know we can't do it to an absolute certainty now, but with an abatement, that is a waiver of tax property on whatever designation to be non-collected for that 5-year period of time. Is that accurate?
What it essentially does is it's a phase-in of the taxes on the eligible equipment over that 5-year period. They're proposing to spend just under $4 million of new production equipment for their packaging business. And so it would start out receiving 100% abatement on that new tax for the first year, and then it scales down 20% until in the year 6 they're paying full value for those items.
So the first year is 100% no tax collected?
Well, they still pay the taxes that they pay today, but they don't charge anything on the new item.
So new item taxes not collected for 1 year?
For 1 year.
Of the first of the 5-year agreement?
That's right.
The following years, concluding in the 5th year, where are we again in the 5th year?
At year 5, it would be, they would pay 80%.
80%
And
of
then
the tax?
in the year 6, they would be back to full.
And this tax specifically is on new what? New
yeah, it's a cutting and printing machine
So
for
on
boxes.
equipment?
and
On
other
equipment,
packaging.
correct?
Yeah, new equipment.
Okay.
Only.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just for the general audience, it is a boxing company. This is a modified, it's new equipment for a box company that has that is giving away or selling its existing equipment for a modified new box cutting machine.
Yeah, more
And so-
modern
Yes,
machinery.
more modern. That doesn't require tape or anything else. They basically come with the 21st century for a new boxing machine.
Okay.
And this is the company Crowell.
So this is not property tax at all, just for the sake of the record? We're not talking about abatement against property tax?
The taxes that they pay on what they currently have would still be there, but it would be reduced, or initially zero and then phased in. For
Are
the
they
new
currently
item.
paying property tax?
They are, yes.
Okay, this would not then affect
No,
that
it would
at
not
all?
reduce current collections. They would still pay that.
Okay.
Okay. So this is for personal property.
Personal property only.
This is not property as in real estate.
Correct.
Just
There's
to be
no
clear.
real estate element here to this. They have a building which would continue to be taxed as it is right now.
Very good.
So just
And-
on new equipment, not on the property,
Right.
that's all we're saying, right?
Right.
That's
It's
right.
just on the new equipment.
Yeah.
But something else, too, that we wanted to be sure about, and that is, I just wanted to make clear on their behalf, and that is that their wages are, minimum wages are at what dollar per hour?
They have
Mr. Hunt?
increased that to 12,
All right.
the opening, starting for the helper position, and that's only going to be 7 of the total positions at the facility.
Okay.
Everything else is above 15.
So we're targeting 7 people that would be the beneficiaries of this modification of the agreement of wages?
Yeah, that's the change. After communication with this council, the issue was raised about the $11 wages in the
And
company.
the impact is for 7 employees, correct?
Related to that change, correct.
Related to the 13,
Yeah.
from 12 to $13.
No.
We're talking
11 to
about-
11 to 12.
From 11 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking
There's
about-
total, there's,
Let me finish the question.
sure, sorry.
So from 11 to 12, the impact is for 7 of your employees under the new agreement?
That was the change. It was 6 current staff and 1 to-be-hired position.
That change is under the new agreement?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Counselor Gray?
What's the location? Where are you located?
It's near the airport on 4001 South High School Road in Decatur Township, the north end of Decatur Township.
Additional questions? Counselor Miller?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. No, I was just going to comment and say I really appreciate all that Mr. Hunt's done to put this deal together. Something that we didn't really mention, but I think is important is even the people that are, making $12 an hour, so it's still a low wage. They do have college reimbursement. They have full benefits. They have a couple other pretty impressive package. So I want to compliment the company for really rounding out a job that otherwise is pretty much a rock bottom wage, but and on top of that, to your point, we did increase the wages of even existing employees that were below. We asked them to get everybody up to 12, and they complied. So very happy for them to continue to do business here in Indy.
Thank you, Chancellor.
And if I may say something else, Madam President, they made a point of identifying that they have a modified and an enlightened policy when it comes to the hiring of people with criminal records, which was very important to me.
Very good. Additional questions?
Madam President, how many people are we talking about
Counselor
employees?
Clay.
I'm sorry?
They have 54 employees currently.
54 total, okay.
54.
What was the last question? I'm not sure everybody heard the last question.
Last question was how
Comment?
many employees? The
Okay.
answer is 54.
Okay. Additional comments? Counselors, it doesn't look like my screen is working, so if you have a question, comment, just raise your hand. Additional questions? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 257, refer to Public Works Committee. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 257, 2017 approves an interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of Carmel, Hamilton County to acquire right-of-way to make improvements on 96th Street within Marion County. Councilor Gray moves, seconded by Councilor Oliver, to report Proposal 257 to the full council for action without recommendation. And that is the proposal before you today. And I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Miller.
Well, thank you, Madam President. It was brought up in committee that this was an interesting situation where the district councilor was not comfortable with the situation, and I would normally 100% defer to a district councilor on something because this also involved, however, a lawsuit that the city had worked to negotiate with Carmel and find seemed like an amicable solution to me. I felt more comfortable, and then I did come across some of the information, which I printed out for folks from a few of the merchants up that way, business owners up that way, that talked about them being more comfortable with things now that they've seen the Carmel agreement, in particular the Tom Wood letter, which I won't read, but it just, the interesting points he made was he was against it in 2010, which is exactly what the district councilor mentioned and was trying to represent. But then he also said over time he's become more comfortable with it, worked with Carmel, understands what they're doing, and feels it is a benefit. So I just wanted to point out that I have great respect for district councilors and their positions, but I do think in this case that maybe something has changed and I haven't heard, but certainly I'm going to vote in support of it regardless of what other positions are. And I do thank the city and city legal for working very hard on this case. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Clay.
Thank you, Madam President. I have been thinking about this for quite some time, and I think my frustration here is the precedent, no matter how well intended, that is being established when either side of the aisle, no matter what their intentions, assuming that they're good, would drift over into another councilor's district and allow themselves to become sponsor of something in another councilor's district. It causes me great concern. I don't question the motive of my colleague across from the aisle, but I am concerned about the precedent, because if we're going to use the premise that you believe it's a good idea and that the end will justify the means, then we've just created a whole new standard of how we do legislative business in this council. That is problematic. It is disrespectful, and I want the record to reflect that. I think it's inconsiderate that the administration, whether Democrat or Republican administration, would bargain in isolation of any sitting councilor. And I think if we allow this to continue, then all of us at one point or the other are going to be making this kind of argument, because if you did it to one, you'll do it to another. We didn't ask for Councilor Scales, but we have her now, and she's ours, and I think we need to stand with her. And I'm going to ask my colleagues on this side of the aisle to do that with their vote on tonight. We'll follow Christine Scales is my recommendation.
Councilor Kreider.
Thank you, Madam President. On the issue of precedent, I think there is precedent here. To me, this is more than a single district issue. This is why I supported it. This affects our entire county. It's had a legal question in place, and as to whether or not other counties or other cities can come down into our county, into our backyard. And that the precedent has always been to have agreements in place. We have one. So that is why I fully supported this. It had nothing to do with a particular district. This was a countywide issue, not a single district issue. So I fully support and would ask everyone else to do the same.
Councilor Scales.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I'd like to thank Councilor Clay for his cogent comments, and I hope we all heed them. I think he made some very wise comments and gave us some warnings that are very appropriate. I have opposed these particular roundabouts for quite some time. I do my research on each issue that comes before me, particularly when it affects my own district. So for the past year and a half, I've been interviewing stakeholders that would be most affected by this particular project that Carmel has planned for the roundabouts along East 96th Street. And I have had many people who were opposed to them until some pressure was applied to them to give other opinions. But nonetheless, I have given many reasons why I believe that they will not deliver the promised benefits that most roundabouts do when they're judiciously placed. You know, it's accepted that roundabouts, you know, can enhance traffic flow, can reduce traffic accidents. However, in a thoroughfare such as East 96th Street from Keystone to Hazeldale, we have 20 automobile dealerships. And to have 6 roundabouts closely spaced and have 80-foot-long transporters trying to navigate them when, with a law recently enacted by Mayor Brainerd's request that cars yield to trucks and roundabouts, I am very concerned that we're going to have a backup on approach as well as side intersections that are waiting to enter into an approach of a roundabout. We've got 20 automobile dealerships. We've got 3 to 4 deliveries of these transporter trucks each day. And so, again, we're looking at a potential greater congestion on East 96th Street than we presently have. There are also some other safety concerns that I brought up. I cannot validate Mayor Brainerd's assertions that accidents in roundabouts in Carmel have been reduced. Their own police data does not show this. And in terms of the legal quandary that some people believe, some of the counselors believe we might face, the judge who heard the preliminary injunction upheld the state statute as it currently is, that one municipality cannot encroach into another's to the extent that Carmel desires to do without an interlocal agreement. There is no precedent showing that the need to get an interlocal agreement would be somehow overthrown by any kind of an appeals court. There's only case law that shows precedent that this law that's currently in place requiring an interlocal agreement would be affirmed. I think there are just many reasons, from economic to traffic challenges, that in this particular stretch of road, the roundabouts are not a good decision, and I would ask my fellow councilors to not support a vote for the interlocal agreement.
Councilor Fanning? Okay. Excuse me? A second ago I did. Did you turn it off? Okay.
Thank you. Wrong button. There we go. Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, obviously this has been a big issue. I've been thinking about this for a long time as well. While I, respect my fellow councilors' concerns about setting precedents, I think that, this has become an argument that's gotten way off track. First of all, as soon as this became a legal matter, as soon as the city of Indianapolis sued the city of Carmel to protect our right to not allow another municipality to build on our land without our consent just because they were paying for it, this became a countywide issue. Directly, this does impact my district. Many of the detour routes, which will need to be repaved, are in my district. It also connects to a current project that is in my district, so it does affect my district. It impacts it directly fiscally, but I would argue that the fiscal impact of this directs the entire county fiscally. We're talking about many millions of dollars of infrastructure benefits that have been negotiated diligently by our corporation council at the city level. And frankly, I respect Councilor Scales' research on this issue, but frankly, what anyone thinks about this project at this point is irrelevant, because the truth of the matter is, and it's not a belief about the legal situation, it is an actual settlement handed down by a judge. It is not a matter of opinion. This is actually our situation. No matter what you think of the project, Carmel has the option to, as Councilor Scales said, build it. They don't need an interlocal agreement to do this. They can build this 6 feet north and do exactly what they want to do, a mere 6 feet north, and do the exact same project, and we will get no economic infrastructure benefits from that. I don't think that's a responsible choice for our taxpayers. I also don't care what you think about roundabouts at this point. They can build them no matter what, and they will. I don't know if I neighbor Carmel, my district, so I'm very familiar with the workings of Carmel. And I don't know the last time that an extra $1 million or $800,000 of design cost prevented Carmel from doing anything, especially when it comes to Mayor Brainerd and roundabouts. So I'm not gonna bet on that horse. We're gonna get our roundabouts, like it or not, and I would rather give our taxpayers the highest possible benefit for our taxpayers. I mean, we all know that, commuter tax is a slippery slope, and we've talked about that a lot, but no matter what you feel about it, I mean, especially my district, Councilor Scales' districts, Councilor Robinson's districts, we bear a very heavy infrastructure burden from the north side commute. And we don't get much for that. This is an opportunity to get a little bit of that back for our taxpayers. So I would say that this is not about, you know, the past. This is not about anybody's hurt feelings. And I would go one step further. You know, it's while, you know, words like disrespectful and inappropriate have been thrown around here, I would say that it's inappropriate for a home district's counselor not to sponsor a proposal that's fiscally responsible for the county. I mean, the only reason I'm a sponsor of this is because nobody else would do it, and I just can't let, you know, us tell Carmel, no thank you, we don't actually need your infrastructure dollars, we'll find that money in our own budget. Because last I checked, we had almost a $3 billion infrastructure deficit, and I'm not signing up my infrastructure dollars for the next, you know, 4 years to pay for my repaving for the detour routes that are going to happen as a result of this project, whether we agree or not. So I would respectfully ask all of my counselors to support this. Let's abide by the judge's decision. Let's abide by the administration, the corporate council's negotiations, and let's get this done.
Councilor Simpson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is amazing that we're having this discussion, but I think that we should wait to see what Carmel's going to do. Their city county council, they're meeting on Monday to prove this thing. Why are we rushing? And I didn't hear millions of dollars is going to be in infrastructure. I heard 1.5 million. And so, you know, these numbers thrown around, I just feel that just because Carmel say jump, I'm not jumping, or anybody in Marion County should jump. We should take our time to make sure that this thing is done thoughtful. As far as I know, this thing is in the Court of Appeals. It hasn't been settled. What I'm requesting right now is, Madam Chair, that we postpone this until the next City County Council meeting.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded to postpone proposal number 252. Comments on the proposed postponement, Councilor Fanning.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Man, I keep doing that. Could I ask DPW Director Dan Parker to come up and speak to the potential ramifications of postponing this as something that would essentially be striking down this project and telling Carmel we are not willing to negotiate further? Yeah. He is.
Director Parker, are you in the audience? If you can speak specifically to what would happen if we postpone proposal number 257.
Dan Parker, Director, Indianapolis DPW. In terms of the proposed postponing, the reason we went first is that we were the ones who objected. Carmel has not acted because they were waiting to see what we did, because we were the ones who objected to the project, and they're waiting to see what we're doing. They're meeting next Monday. Their city council meets next Monday. In terms of the postponement, I'm not a lawyer and I can't speak to what would happen related to the case, and I can't speak related to the litigation, but a postponement in effect would be us rejecting the proposal. In effect, if you vote to postpone, you vote to reject the agreement.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Parker. Councilor Scales?
I may need to wait. Madam President, I wanted to respond to oh, I'm getting signals. Oh, okay. I wanted to respond to some of Councilor Fanning's comments and correct them.
Okay. So I'm asking for you to comment on the motion that's on the floor to postpone proposal number 257. Councilor Gray.
You know, I like Dan Parker, but Dan Parker said it himself that he wasn't a lawyer. So the statement he just made, I challenge that to say, if we postpone something doesn't mean that we are against it. It just means that we haven't made up our mind yet. So I don't know how he got all the way from postponing meaning no. Postponing just means that we haven't made a decision and that we will make a decision in 2 weeks.
Councilor Osley.
Is that better? All right. Madam President, I had spoken with Councilor Scales, who I have great respect for and whose passion I greatly respect, on the impact to the businesses that would be affected by the roundabout, by these roundabouts. And unfortunately, I don't have anything that states, other than what we have as handouts here, that there would be an impact. But that's aside from this notion that 6 feet is going to negatively impact Marion County businesses. Last week at the Public Works Committee meeting, a handout was presented to us that showed.
Yeah, we're speaking to the postponement.
Forgive me, Madam
Okay.
Madam President.
So we'll come back to your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coates. Additional comments on postponing the proposal. Councilor Fanning, you hit your button. Is that what you want to speak to?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I know Director Parker's not an attorney. Do we have any corporation counsel here that could speak to the veracity of the fact that Director Parker is most likely correct when he says if we vote to postpone this, we're essentially voting no on the deal, which is what I've been advised from legal counsel. And I'd just like to remind my fellow counselors, this is not about feelings and personalities. This is about trying to get the biggest win for our county when we're staring down a project that's most likely going to happen, like 90+% going to happen. So this is not a maybe not.
Would you please state your name and title, please?
Yes, Madam President. My name is Robert Fry. I'm with the Office of Corporation Counsel, and I'm DPW's attorney, and I am involved in this litigation. I think what Mr. Director Parker was trying to convey is a postponement would certainly not help resolve this litigation. It is true that 2 weeks doesn't necessarily torpedo this deal. Our commitment to Carmel was because our council is larger. You have a committee process that we would just try to shepherd it through your process as quickly as we could. They have a smaller council. I believe they can call meetings easier and get their group together. So, but I do believe what Mr. Parker was saying was politically it could really kill this deal. Legally, not necessarily.
Councilor Oliver. Councilors, hang on one second, Councilor Oliver. The screen is now working, so if you would select your button if you want to speak, that would be helpful. Councilor Oliver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll come back.
Councilor Gray.
Bob, I have a concern with what you just said about you made a deal with them that you would do something with this council, but you is not a member of this council. So why would you be speaking on behalf of this council? We have a representative that speaks for us.
And I apologize if my remarks came off that way, Councilor. We just simply said we would try to bring it through this process. We made from the very beginning of the negotiations, made a point that no deal we reached would, in fact, come into effect unless this council approved it. And I mean, that was a point that we had to stick to because that was the point of law that we defended in court.
Councilor Scales and then Councilor Clay.
Forgive me, Madam President, I didn't want to speak to the postponement.
Okay. Councilor Clay, would you like to speak to
the postponement and a point of clarity with respect to the postponement?
Yes, sir.
It was my understanding that there were going to be millions of dollars involved as a result of this, as I understand it. Can we get some verification? Because we were told on this side of the aisle, we're looking at 1.3, 1.5 maybe. Now we're hearing millions of dollars. Counselor for DPW, could you give us some clarity on the investment of dollars for DPW as a result of this deal? Is it 1.3, is it 1.5, or is it millions of dollars?
The agreement itself that's before the council to be voted on does not have a specific number. It lays out certain infrastructure improvements that Carmel has agreed to do for the city of Indianapolis. So a dollar
The value of that is, do we know? of what they purport to
Right.
do?
So our estimates from DPW, our engineers, if we were to do the work, was approximately 1.4 to 1.5 million.
Thank you.
If we did the work.
Thank you. Counselors, again, on the postponement. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to clarify that. So the number DPW generated, and of course, we don't know what Carmel's costs are because that's not transparent from my perspective, but the 1.3, 1.4 was if we needed to repave our own detour routes following the construction, but there is also the additional cost of the sidewalks on the south side of 96th Street, the additional signaling that would be
Counselor
put in.
Penny, I'm going to stop you. I want you guys to focus on the motion on the floor.
I understand, Madam President,
okay.
but this is speaking to if we vote no and kill this deal, I want this full council to understand what we're
And
saying no to.
we can discuss that, but right now the motion on the floor is, should we postpone this proposal or not? And so, yeah. So, Mr. Oliver, your button is not on there, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Just a question.
Okay, okay.
On the postponement, the question of the impact, if we do nothing, like postpone it or vote it down, what happens next?
Mr. Biesicker, or do you want to speak to
No,
that? Or you want
I'm
this
asking him,
attorney?
yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Well, Carmel's council could take it up Monday, or they could choose to postpone, I suppose.
I mean, do we lose or gain? Do we lose or gain? Talking about Indianapolis, not Carmel, but Indianapolis. Does Indianapolis gain by this local agreement, or does Indianapolis lose by implementing this local agreed-upon agreement?
The administration believes the city of Indianapolis gains from this agreement.
Well, on the postponement, where do we stand if we postpone this? What do we lose and what do we gain, in your opinion?
Really, I suppose all we lose is time and the potential that Carmel's council will not pass the agreement.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part, sir.
The potential that Carmel's council would not act on the agreement or pass it. Maybe that's the risk.
Does it affect anything that Carmel does when they have a meeting next week?
I can't speak specifically to that, other than they will know, obviously, when they meet that this council has not acted and has postponed.
Okay. Well, so we actually are going to take the postponement vote on the board. Madam Clerk, are you ready? We'll now proceed to the board for our vote. Select the green button if you would like to postpone the proposal. Obviously, the red, no. Councilor Clay? I don't know what. So the motion fails to postpone proposal number 257. Additional comments on the proposal, and the board is open if you want to make a comment on the proposal. Councilor Scales, I heard you.
Thank you, Madam President. I think what's being lost here when we're looking at a potential win for resurfacing of streets that would not need resurfacing but for construction that Carmel is planning is that we have lost already and stand to lose more property tax revenue generated by parcels of land that we have already conceded to Carmel. Oh, you don't have a marathon station that's closing down on southwest corner of Keystone? I believe it is. And that property is valued about $1.3 million, as is the Rickers on the east side of Keystone and 96 in Indianapolis territory, and the McDonald's and several other that we will never, ever enjoy property tax revenue from. So to say that we will gain perhaps $1.3 million in the short term for some resurfacing projects in only my district that wouldn't be needed but for the construction, and I have to say not even to our standards would the resurfacing take place in terms of road density and thickness, but I think that's a short-term approach. And I think what we need to be careful of is the totality of the parcels of land that have already been lost to this entire 96th Street corridor and the potential for greater losses. Just on Priority Way, a small sliver, a corner of land, was agreed to be sold to Carmel by the precedent for $500,000. That was just a small sliver. So that's valuable property. That could be generating dollars for our budget for many, many years to come, but we'll never see that again, nor will we see the property tax revenues enjoyed from the parcels of land that will be gone on your side of Keystone and others on the side of mine. So I think it's short-sighted to look at a $1.3 million gain, again, not necessary but for the construction, and not take into consideration all the lost parcels of land that generate property tax revenue now. In terms of the legal aspect, again, I was told by Corporation Counsel that should any appeals court vote against us, it would turn all the previously entered into local agreements that have been agreed to by various municipalities, counties, and municipalities on end, and it would create chaos in this state in terms of how interlocal agreements are entered into.
Councilor Osili?
Thank you, Madam President. There is a question that just came up now, and I wanted to find out from Councilor Scales if that Ricker's business would not close if we were to vote no. Pardon? If the business that you just indicated right now would not close if we voted no.
It's already going to close, but that was part of the agreement that I believed had been reached with Carmel, that we would incur some losses so that the Keystone and 96th Street roundabout could be constructed, a roundabout that I do believe is needed to alleviate congestion. But in return for that, then no more damage would be incurred by us in terms of loss of land by having more roundabouts built on 96th Street. That was the agreement. And so we have already lost some, but to get back only $1.3 million in terms of all the property tax revenues we've already lost through parcels of land given to Carmel for the roundabouts, and then some, and only get $1.3 million in return is not a good deal.
I appreciate the answer. May I continue? Mm-hmm. All right. I think the discussion earlier on with Councilor Scales, from last week, revolved around 6 feet of the property that we're talking about. 6 feet. And in my mind, 6 feet does not make a difference. That whatever that impact was going to be, if it were something more significant, if it was 60 feet or 600 feet, I get it. I'm in no way supporting, this idea of Carmel or Hamilton County coming into our county, taking our properties, any of that. I'm not even necessarily in favor of roundabouts. But what I don't want to do is vote on a principle that 6 feet and the impact of 6 feet is going to stop a business from closing. And if that is not the case, then I cannot support this. Now, I'd asked Councilor Scales for some written documentation from other businesses if they were going to close because of this 6 feet. And if so, now we've got some issue at hand. We are talking now about the survival of a business and the revenues that we get as a county from that business. But if that is not the case, I'm still greatly puzzled why we are talking about 6 feet when that 6 feet is not going to impact the outcome of our roadways, the use of those roadways during construction, or anything else. So I know that Councilor Scales, who I have great respect for on this, has had some potentially bad communications with some entities across the county line, and that cannot be tolerated. In fact, I'm glad that we are going to be talking about it this evening, because it's not a precedent that we wish to see happen again. It was also pointed out this evening that having a neighboring councilor sponsor a proposal in another councilor's district is also something that we don't support. And I'm glad that we are having this public discourse about it now in public so that we can address it in public, that it's not something that we as a council do by principle. It's wrong. It's insulting, it is disrespectful, it is wrong. Now, if I put that aside and we start talking now about infrastructure work in our county, and whether or not 6 feet is going to make a difference, I say that it is not. The documents that were presented to us at committee last week that showed the parcels that would be lost were incredibly, were just infinitesimally small. I expected to see wide swaths of our properties gone. What I found were parcels maybe half the size of this particular room. I was astounded that we were having a long discussion about that. With great respect, however, to Councilor Scales and the passion that she has put behind this, I don't want to vote on something that is based on a principle that another councilor either came into my district or that an agreement was dishonored by our neighboring county. That is not how I think we should be doing business. I think we need to be doing business on the work at hand. I know, and I say this with respect, I would not want another counselor coming into my own district and sponsoring something. And I certainly would not expect, I certainly do not expect to see that happen again in public now that we are addressing it in public. But I cannot support something on infrastructure of this magnitude with 6 feet that is not going to impact in a positive way any of the businesses that are going to be affected. And the documents that we have in front of us right now in support of it from businesses on 96th Street, which is the kind of documentation I'd asked Councilor Scales for on the opposite side. This is all I've got to go on. And they are in support of it. So, once again, 6 feet, 60 feet, 600 feet, I get it. 6 feet. That's taller than me. That's the difference that we're talking about? And, if I may say one other thing, please. Whether it's $1.3 million or $1 million or whatever it is, if we don't get it, these folks are going to be using our roads and destroying our roads. There's no two ways about it. During this construction period, our roads are going to be damaged. I would far prefer having Hamilton County or Carmel pay for that damage and replace those and have 2 or 3 miles of sidewalk that we were not ever going to pay for along 96th Street put into Marion County. So I will be supporting this unless I can get some kind of documentation that talks about the damage that this is causing to our local businesses in Marion County.
Councilor Miller.
Thank you, Madam President. My disdain for roundabouts is well known, but I do not like playing the game of chicken, especially with the city of Carmel. And I feel like that's what we're doing if we vote this down tonight. I would ask people, please, to support this. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Oliver.
Yes, Madam Chair. Councilor Skills, I finally got something on impact. A couple of businesses up there. I don't know if you all got in front of you about 2 businesses on 96th Street that support the building of the roundabouts at 96th and Keystone. Did any of you get this?
We all have it.
That's all I've heard from in writing. As far as the impact, they support the building of the roundabout. That's Tom Wood Management and the BMW Dryer and Rainbow. When we started on this journey, fellow councilors, we tried to find some medium there of what was going on. Usually when something of this magnitude or any magnitude in a council district, that councilor is brought into the discussion. I was told this did not happen. I hope it doesn't happen again. There was something that goes on in the council district that they will be consulted and brought into discussion. I voted for postponement because I thought we bring that about, bring it to the table. But I learned this evening that even if we vote it down, Carmel's still going to do what they do, and we will lose some economic benefits in the terms of curbs and sidewalks and et cetera. And it's given me great, little bit of pain that my outlook on this is a little different from what it was an hour ago or even a half hour ago. And having this in front of me, and of course, the ones at the table was Public Works Director, Mr. Parker, and his staff. They came back with an agreement a negotiated agreement with Carmel. I guess it went before the judge. Judge said the council has to agree to that. And that's where we're at. That's where I'm at. I would like to see, I'm an advocate for the council being brought into the discussion on what's going on in the district. That does not compel me to vote against this because that did not happen. So that's the agony that's within me, and I'll demonstrate that in the way I vote in a few moments.
Councilor Simpson, and then Vice President Adamson.
Since I brought up the motion for postponement, it wasn't what everybody said in this room. It was because I, as a counselor, was not educated or brought up to speed. It was told to me over a little short 15-minute meeting that we were going to do this, and I feel that we as counselors deserve fully open discussion when something like this is coming about. I don't know, maybe some of y'all had private discussions, but I'm a person who like to have all of us get the same information. That's the reason I'm postponing, is because I don't care about what Carmel thinks or whether or not, and when the corporate counsel stood up here, he's almost leaning, trying to tell us which way to lean. I don't appreciate that. I like to have the information in front of me and like to be educated. So this is a vote. Councilor Osley, I understand you're passionate about it, but at the same time, I don't have that information that you have or anybody else in this room. I'm speaking for myself because people tend to speak for everybody in the room or speak for other councilors in their own district. All I'm saying is postponement is just for 2 weeks so that we can all get up to speed. This is 25 members. Some of us sound like I have a lot more information than I have. And all I'm saying is reasonable people as a counselor that we just sit and see if they want to vote it down, let them vote it down. But at the same time, we're not sitting here trying to lose some money. I'm just trying to get educated as a counselor and seem like we're fighting over whether or not we're going to lose something when we haven't gained anything. So my point is I want everybody to just realize the postponement is more toward us out here that don't know about it. Obvious there were some special meetings in some rooms that I can tell by that some people know a little bit more than I do. And all I'm saying right now is that we can wait 2 weeks to get a little bit more educated and make sure that we're doing the right thing. I'm not saying that this is not good or bad, but I'm just requesting to do the right thing. Thank you.
Vice President.
Thank you, Madam President. I am curious, since so much emphasis has been placed on the free infrastructure that we've been talking about, is if there's anyone out there who knows to what degree or what standard this interlocal specifies that this infrastructure will be built to, whether or not it's to the same standard that we would build our streets for ourselves or to another standard. When we're deciding on how much the value of this infrastructure will have, it depends on that standard. So is there anyone that can speak to whether that standard has been outlined in the interlocal?
Mr. Director or Mr. Biesecker, can you speak to?
Madam President, Dan Parker, Director of DPW. Councilor Adamson, I think I heard your question was to what standard? Carmel has agreed that should the agreement pass both councils, that the sidewalks would be to NDOT standard and the repaving of the streets that were indicated in the agreement would be to DPW standard as well. So it would in essence be exactly like projects we would do, except the city of Carmel would be doing them. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and that's in the interlocal that's spelled out?
That is spelled out.
All right, thank you, sir.
Councilor Clay.
Thank you for the privilege to be able to speak to the adoption of this proposal, because I think we've already settled the matter of the postponement. Is that correct, Madam President? So with respect to proposal 257 that's before us tonight, it is true that every counselor president absent in this building tonight, district is in Marion County. So to make the leap that because it's going to impact Marion County is the reason why I would sponsor something, because it's going to impact Marion County, falls a little short for me, because every one of our districts is in Marion County. So that's not justification as to why somebody would leapfrog into somebody else's district. The other thing for me is the cloudy nature of when we start talking about what dollars are, how we are unclear about what the infrastructure amount will be in terms, we've heard what the standard is because of the question Vice President Adamson raised. We didn't know that heretofore, but the issue of the dollar amount that was asserted to be millions that we have now found out was not millions, that is something less than that, is still not something that is absolutely clear. And in terms of losing something, I'm not clear that we'll lose anything. We will maintain the status quo. They can go north, and they can go north. So that's kind of where I am about that, because we're clear about everything but dollar amounts. Is it 1.3? What is the amount? You say what it would cost if we gonna do it, but we're not doing it. They are doing it. What's it gonna cost? We get the standard, but you know, are they gonna do it according to our standards at what dollar amount? I think that's important, and I think to use the justification that because what's going to happen in Councilor so-and-so's district is going to impact the county. All of our districts are in the county. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Scales.
Thank you again, Madam President. Just a quick answer to the standards. I have the copy of the interlocal agreement with me, and I was told by a Carmel engineer that when Carmel resurfaces roads, they have only done the top 2 inches of pavement, which is substantially less than what Indy has done in recent years. And he urged me to make sure that Carmel is held to DPW standards. But what is listed in the interlocal is base repair and 1.5-inch resurface. So there you go on that. And I just wanted to add that I regret that out of the reams of information that I've sent to fellow counselors, that Councilor Osley and others are focusing on, I don't know if he refers to 6 feet of land that will be taken on the Indianapolis side or if it's moved north. But again, if Carmel desires, you know, to move the roundabouts and redesign the project so that they're into their territory. That is their legal right to do that, but they won't be using our property tax generating land to do it. And also, that is very valuable land on the north side of 96th Street. As I mentioned, car dealerships line that road. It's going to be very difficult for them to negotiate an agreement for a purchase price of land needed on 96th Street should they decide to go that route. I foresee years of lawsuits with eminent domain in order to come to some kind of terms. And so I think even if Carmel does go that way, it's going to take many, many years, and in that time period, a lot can happen. And one, you know, again, I was opposed to this for economic reasons, my concerns for what it would do to Indianapolis businesses and our economy, not just from the land that was taken, but with all these roundabouts that possibly congestion could be increased rather than decreased and the problem exacerbated, and that in itself would hurt businesses and keep people from frequenting or driving along East 96th Street, and that's another concern of mine. But there are many other reasons why I am opposed to this, and time simply does not allow me to go into them. So thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments? Councilor McQuillan? Or your button is, you was trying to vote? No. Okay. Additional comments? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our votes. The proposal carries 14 to 10. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 258, refer to Public Works Committee. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 258 approves the installation of parking meters in Parking Meter Zone 3 as a component of the Marion County Transit Plan and the Red Line Rapid Transit Project. Councilor Oliver moved, seconded by Councilor Cordy, to send proposal 258, 2017 to the full council with a do-pass recommendation, and that motion carried by a vote of 8-1, and I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for a vote. The proposal carries 20-4. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 259, referred to Public Works Committee. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 259 authorizes Indianapolis Public Transportation Corporation, Indigo, to carry out a public transportation project and amends the code to make various changes to parking restrictions and traffic controls. Flip back here. It's a very long hearing. Councilor Oliver moves, seconded by Councilor Miller, to send proposal 259, 2017 to the full council with a do-pass recommendation. That motion was carried by a vote of 7-2, and I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Feaster.
I would like permission to abstain on this. I may be a little overly cautious, but my grandson is working on the design of this project, so I'd like to abstain.
Permission granted. Councilor Simpson.
Once again, the lack of information pertaining to not receiving this information to the counselor that represent one of these districts, was not aware of this proposal. The meeting was set up when I was in the middle of a proposal, but I just want to go to what my constituents said. We were standing on 42nd and College, where the fire station and the police, I don't know, it's a substation or whatever it is. They asked me, when you say don't turn left, there is a public safety component of this is not involved in this proposal. In other words, if you're going to tell me who's not going to turn left, you got houses that are on the west side of that street. If truck come out of there, does it say that the fire truck can go that way? No. Does it say the police officer can go that way? No. Is somebody going to enforce that law from people turning left? That's like cutting a neighborhood off. And I think that, once again, this is a situation in which the people in that neighborhood would like some sort of reason about what is this ordinance and how it's going to be affecting. We deserve to know the full extent. I asked the fire chief when he was before us at public safety on the budget, turn left, and he said he just now in a negotiation with Indigo about this. I don't really care if people sitting here, these are families with kids that walk kids to school. It's a good neighborhood. And my point is that when you say don't turn left, give us the full detail. Don't say that, this is all it's going to be. And then you get an email 5 o'clock in the morning, this morning, saying that it's going to be in effect October the 8th. That is not right. And I think that this council, if we don't put our foot down and make people give us all the information that are in our district, how do they expect us to vote or pass anything? But once again, my voice, the only voice, but it's affect a big piece of my district, and I think that turn left should get more postponement. But I'm not going to bother with it because I think the council already made their minds up. And I'm just saying that it would be good if Indigo would just be honest. Thank you.
Additional comments? Councilor Wessler.
Thanks, Madam Chairman. There seems to be a lot of information that didn't come to the full council at many times with this busing. This is the first time I've heard anything about no left turns. I wasn't involved in the planning, but I surely would agree with Mr. Simpson, Councilor Simpson, that we don't have enough information when the beginning of this. We said, well, they're going to do a red line, they're going to do this, that, and the other. But now all of a sudden we're going to have no left turns. I agree with him. Fire trucks, police officers, I just can't understand why we weren't notified of all these other little incidentals, I call them. Now they become big problems. Thank you.
Councilor Miller.
Thank you, Madam President. I only want to point out that the no left turn was proposal 258. 259 is discussing parking changes due to parking meters being moved. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Miller. Additional comments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our votes. Councilor Gray. The proposal carries 16-7. There is no business under Special Service District Council. Is there any new business before this body? Councilor McHenry. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to give a big thanks to our Mayor Joe Hogsett for coming out on Saturday to help with the 56th Street cleanup out by Eagle Creek Park. We appreciate him coming out and getting dirty with the rest of us and picking up some of the trash and the litter that's thrown out. I know this is his incentive on being a clean city this year, and would like to encourage other residents to do the same thing that we did on Saturday. And you don't have to go out as a group, but as individuals, take a plastic bag, grocery bag out with you when you go walking, when you walk your dog, when you're out for exercise, out in your neighborhood, and pick up a bag of trash. If everybody in this city would do that every time they're out walking, we would not have the litter problem that we hear so much about in our city. So would certainly did appreciate him coming out and appreciate all the other volunteers that came out Saturday, and like to encourage other people to do likewise. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Oliver.
Madam Chair, I wish thank Mayor Hogsett and the Park Director, Mr. Linda Brawford, for getting accreditation for our park system. So we give ourselves a hand and the administration a hand for receiving that prestigious award. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Oliver. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to just make an announcement to wish my spouse, Christian, a happy birthday today, and appreciate the understanding for being late for dinner tonight.
Councilor Evans.
Madam President, I would so happily like to invite everybody that would like to give one back to Carmel, to the west side this Friday night, as the undefeated Ben Davis Giants take on Carmel and represent the proud city of Indianapolis.
Additional announcements. The docket agenda for this meeting of the council having been completed, the chair will now entertain motions for adjournment.
Madam President.
The chair recognizes Councilor McQuillan.
Thank you, Madam President. I've been asked to offer the following motion for adjournment. By Councilors Cordy and Adamson in memory of Drew Schwer. By Councilor Lewis in memory of Dolores Crawford Anderson. By all Republican caucus members in memory of Braden Paul Walker. By Councilor McQuillan in memory of Tom Lee Dixon and Howard C. Caldwell, Jr. By Councilor Wessler in memory of Robin J. Wisman and Dale E. Cotton. By Councilor Kreider in memory of Judge Larry J. McKinney. By Councilor Feaster in memory of Joseph Grissom and Howard Allen. By Councilor Adamson in memory of Scott Barnes and Janine McDonnell. Madam President, I would like to move the adjournment of this meeting of the Indianapolis City County Council in recognition of and respect for the life and contributions of those persons I've here specifically named. I respectfully ask the support of fellow councilors. I further request that the motion be made a part of the permanent record of this body and that a letter bearing the council seal and the signature of the President be sent to the family of each person advising of this action.
Thank you, Councilor McQuillan. Hearing no objection, the motion is received and the request are so ordered. Hearing no further motions, we are adjourned.